Hello, everyone, and welcome once again. I am JT, aka the Master, and this is Jerry Taylor presents the Master Plan. Today, today, now we've had a lot of free agency activity. We've had a lot of free agency activity, and what I'm going to be going through. First off, I came across this article. I came across an article that articles, I should say, because it tweaked my interest. And I came across this article about free agents and teams, and I want to share this with you. Okay, I want to share this with you because it may make a difference, in my opinion, of where free agents go, where what they're thinking about, what they're talking about. Like I've always said before, uh, players talk to each other. I mean, you got 13, 1,700 players talk to each other about different teams and different organizations. And I came across this, and I want to share it with you. Now, I have more than one website that I went to because, like I said, it tweaked my interest, and it's got to do with the players and teams, a combination of both. And I want to say this: I'm going to read this article, go through the J.C. Trotter, who is the president of the NFLPA, and talk to you about different organizations. And I'm not picking on any of them, but there are key organizations that uh, have problems. Problems. And like I said, it's not just a handful of malcontents. It's been surveyed with over 1,300 players with all 32 teams. And the reason I'm going over it is, like I said, players talk. Players talk. And if I'm going to be talking about a few teams. And I know that if Mr. FSP comes on there, he's not going to like it because it's two teams that I'm going to key on. Now, I wouldn't say key on. I'm going to talk about that have a very unfavorable rating among players. And it could be the issue of players not willing to go to unfavorable conditions as it relates to uh, their families. Not every player, not all players, but every player. I would say not all players. All players have some common priorities and some different priorities about what they expect from their organizations they play for. And if you get I would say a majority of the players and have issues with certain teams, that's not just a small portion of malcontents. That's a problem. And players talk and say, "Man, you don't want to come here. This is the issue. This is the issue. They got a problem with this. They got a problem with that, and you don't want to deal with it. You got a hard enough time performing on the field, so you can keep your job, much less what's in the background before you get on the field, what you see, or what you are dealing with on the field." So I'm going to go through a few of players, teams, I should say, teams that have issues, that, for most part, need to be addressed. And In some ways they are, and in the other ways they may not be. Okay, so bear with me because I'm going to go through this, and I'm going to let me do this. Oh, thanks. Talk about players and teams that have uh, problems. And I'm going to tell it like it is. I'm not showing any kind of bias. I'm just going to highlight the best teams according to the players and the worst teams according to players. Okay, and you let the chips fall where they may. And like I said, this has a little to do with free agency, and some players it may have a lot to do with it. Because the fact is that they don't want to deal with teams that are not player friendly, not player friendly. And this is from J.C. Tretter, I should say, who is the president of the Players Association. And I'm going to read this article, which came out the beginning of this month. Okay? This is, like I said, this is from the president's corner of the Players Association, and this is J.C. Tretter. I'm not showing any kind of bias here. I'm just reading this article. One of our core jobs as a union is to improve the overall conditions for our players. Often you see our advocacy on big issues like our push for better field surfaces at stadiums, or standardized safety protocols that limit the risk of workplace injuries. But it also includes the daily experience of players at the team's facilities away from the lights and cameras. That's what I'm talking about in the background. Things you don't see. For many years, players have brought up the idea of creating a free agency guide, which would contain information that can help illuminate what the daily experience is like for players and their families from team to team. Just like the military, there's different programs from each team for the families, and that's what they're talking about. Families are included in this because the family are definitely one of the players' priorities. Happy life at home with the family and family conditions makes it easier for the player to concentrate and fully put what he needs to put in work for the team. So that's why it says it's like for players, experiences like for players and their families from team to team. If knowledge is power, then providing players with information about each club will not only help them make important career decisions, such as in free agency, but it also will help raise the standards across each club. Now, here is a more detailed look as to why we took on the project and created club report cards, along with what we hope they will accomplish and what comes next. Okay? What were our objectives? So this is like I said, this is coming from the president's corner of the NFLPA. Highlight positive clubs. It was really important to highlight the teams that are doing things well and where players are happy. It makes a big difference when players go to work feeling supported by their club, and we want our members to know which clubs make players feel that way based on the responses from some who were on that club during this past year. Identifying clubs that need improvement. For players who have been on one team and are looking to move elsewhere for whatever reason, there is currently no centralized resource to compare some players' feelings and opinions about their work experiences from one team to another. Players Talk. This is a condensed version of Players Talking, and putting all those pieces into one report. And then the players can have an idea of, do I really want to go to this team? They may be offering me more money. The reason they offer me more money, it may be because the conditions are a little harder, and that's the only way they can get somebody to come to the club. For players who have been on one team looking to move elsewhere for whatever reason, there is currently no centralized resource to compare some players' feelings and opinions about their work experience from one team to another. Okay, that's more relation to free agency. Okay, highlight best practices and standards. Players who have played on one team for their entire career may accept their team's standards as the norm and often think conditions are the same everywhere else. Making more information and opinions available can not only inform players about practices, but also hopefully help raise the standards across all clubs. What are our desired results? Educate our membership. Our goal as a unit is always to try to bring value to our members, and getting feedback from them is a classic union tool to get better understanding of what membership feels about certain issues. That's what I talked about. Players have each player has their own priorities. We hope this can be a resource for all players. Okay, this is probably going to be a yearly thing, and also a comparison from this year to next year and the following years to see what teams who needed improvement have made any kind of improvement or are working towards an improvement. Let me put it that way. Information will lead to action. No problem can be fixed until it is identified and acknowledged as a problem. We hope, we hope teams that will take this feedback and improve the facilities and players' experiences where needed. Okay. We're talking about players that experiences that lead to action. Okay, information leads to action. What's next? We don't want this to be a one-year project. Like I said, our intent is to continue to field player opinions and feedback every year. As we have carefully noted, these club report cards are a snapshot of opinions during one period in time. And those opinions can change if the club make decisions that impact the players' experience in the workplace. And this is going, if you look at the report, this says that as you click through the club reports, understand that categories are both specific to the job of an NFL player and make a difference in the daily experiences in our jobs. We also believe that each club has the resources and obligation to ensure that things like weight rooms are in the best possible condition, training rooms are properly staffed, and each interaction with players from club personnel is a positive one. We know our jobs are unique, and for the first time, we are peeling back the curtain on issues that we talk about among ourselves, but have been unable to organize and publish in a centralized way. Again, our hope is that transparency across the NFL can help lead to positive changes for players, which is what our union is all about. And that's what I'm talking about. And I'm going to click through this report card, and this is what I found. This is what I found. NFL team report cards, and I am, but I'm not. Washington Commanders earned worst grade. The Vikings ranked number 1, followed by the Dolphins and the Raiders. The Vikings were the top-ranked team, followed by the Miami Dolphins and Las Vegas Raiders. The Los Angeles Chargers ranked 30th, followed by the Arizona Cardinals, with the Commanders rounding out the bottom. The Commanders received an F for treatment of families and an F-. You hear me right, an F- in training room, locker room, and team travel. Now, J.C. Trotter says the actionable items will be rather clear. I'm not expecting teams to knock down their facilities and rebuild them in the next 3 months, but some of the clear choices where you just have to decide we are going to treat players better. These can be fixed very, very quickly, and we'll be able to figure out whether it's being cheap or it is ignorance that will be solved in year 2 for sure. It's going to be very clear what the next steps should be. If you're unwilling to take those steps, then that tells us a lot going into the following year. The survey found that 3 teams don't provide dinners for players on workdays. 6 teams don't give players first-class seats when they travel. And 7 teams have players room with teammates at hotel on road trips. Come on, man. What is this, college? The Bengals, for example, were the only team not to provide supplements for players. Their cafeteria, and this is J.C. Treader talking, is locked on the day off when players are asked to come in to work out. Some things think this is normal. This is what it is. And those are the little qualities of life things that really puts into perspective what decisions your team is making when given the option to do something for you. Here are the final rankings. The Vikings are number 1, followed by the Dolphins, like I said, and the Raiders number 3, Texans number 4, Cowboys number 5, Packers number 6, 49ers, Giants, and the Bills. And the Saints round out the top 10. Like I said, the Chargers are 30th, the Cardinals are 31st, and the Commanders are dead last. I'm not making this up. I don't point out or try to downplay down a team. This is from the players. This is what they're going through. So the Chargers, which are a cheap team, the Cardinals, which has historically been a rather frugal team, and I'll say this, frugal. I'll say frugal. I'll be nice. I'll say frugal. And the Washington Commanders, which the team is in a process of getting sold. So I'm just saying, you treat players right, and they'll want to come to your team in free agency. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. All right, people. Now, I did say that I was going to go through some players. Not all players, but some players in free agency that may have did well in fantasy. And I'm saying that they're going to regress. And we talked about a couple of players on the FSP show, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I know we had heated conversation. That happens a lot. Whatever. But I'm going to be talking about those players. I'm going to talk about, since that's fresh in your mind, you listen to the FSP show, and we at the end of the show, we talked about a couple of players. One of them being Miles Sanders. Okay? One of them being Miles Sanders. And what I'm saying is this. Don't expect what you saw from Miles Sanders this past season and the production he had this past season to happen again. For the simple reason that I'm going to say this. I'm going to go to Miles Sanders, okay? And before I saw any of these articles, I explained to Mr. FSP yesterday why Miles Sanders is not going to put up the same numbers or put up really good quality fantasy numbers. In 2022, Miles Sanders became the first Eagles running back since LaShawn McCoy in 2014 to top 1,000 yards on the ground. Sanders has averaged 5 yards per carry over his 4 seasons in Philly. He was a top 15 fantasy option a year ago. Now, if his usage in the past Super Bowl was any indication, there is a 0% chance he will be returning to the Eagles, which he hasn't. Sanders had just 7 carries for 16 yards against the Chiefs with a massive extension Okay, and quite naturally, the the reason why I'm saying this is this. Like I said, Sanders bounced to the outside even though he didn't need to. A mistake he's been making throughout his career, and that's in the Super Bowl. He's a boom or bust player with terrific production. If that it was telling, and I tried to say this yesterday on the FSP show, it was telling that the Eagles trusted Kenneth Gainwell to play 12 more snaps than Sanders on football's biggest stage. Okay, on biggest stage, and it's no accident. It's no accident. And another reason is this. Um, let me get to this. You have to think that he, and this is the fact. His offensive line is not that good. I don't care. He has Frank Wright. Okay, he got Frank Wright, who had Jonathan Taylor. Now you tell me Jonathan Taylor is comparable to Miles Sanders? I don't think so. Strike number one. Strike number two is Deuce Staley, who likes to use a more than one back in the backfield by committee. He likes to use by committee, and it's going to be telling if the Carolina Panthers draft another running back. They like to use multiple running backs. They use multiple running backs in Philly. And the lead back for Philadelphia was Miles Sanders. But he had half the amount of carries than Kenneth Gainwell in the Super Bowl with a better offensive line. And I tried to point this out to Mr. FSB. One of the top, if not the top offensive line, with a whole plethora of offensive weapons that the Philadelphia Eagles have. That's why they went to the Super Bowl. One of the reasons. Plus, they had a quarterback, a better quarterback, and outstanding Pro Bowl type of wide receivers along with their tight end. Hello. What outstanding player on the offensive side of the ball that is equivalent to the Philadelphia Eagles at any of those positions? I'll wait. At any of those positions, quarterback, wide receivers, tight end, tell me what is equivalent to Eagles. Opening up avenues to run. And in the Super Bowl, he had half the amount of touches than Kenneth Gainwell. And he's supposed to be the lead back. And you're telling me that he's going to score or he's going to be a really viable fantasy option? Don't chase the numbers. I'm telling you. Don't chase the numbers. He's going to regress. They're going to struggle. Even they're going to have it. All it looks like, and it's still up in the air who they're going to draft at the quarterback. According to the latest articles, they're still not stuck on who the number one option is. They're still going back and forth. What quarterback? Is it going to be C.J. Stroud? Is it going to be Bryce Young? Or is it going to be Anthony Richardson or Will Levis? Who knows? They haven't decided yet. They have a little more than a month left before they have to make a decision. Quite naturally, they're going to make a decision and they're going to pick whoever. Okay? But they're going to have a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback, okay, with a questionable offensive line. And second, and I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again, second and third tier players on the Carolina Panthers. If you're relying on Adam Thielen, they got rid of Adam Thielen in Minnesota. He's an older wide receiver that always gets hurt. Okay? They don't have a all-pro tight end. They're going to be doing what they did before, running back by committee. And running back by committee tells me that there is not going to be a top tier running back in Miles Sanders. Don't chase the numbers, people. I'm tired. I don't know what more I can tell you. I don't know what more I can tell you. I feel my forte, people, is running backs. And the scenario I see for Miles Sanders going to Carolina, he's going to be a Jag. He's going to be a Jag. You know what a Jag is? Just another guy. That's all he's going to be. They're going to have a running back by committee. That's what Deuce Staley likes to do. And they're going to use that. They're going to use that. As their benchmark for players, for the running backs. That's what they're going to do. That's what they're going to do. I don't know what more I can tell you about that. Let's move on to another player on the list, and let me get besides Miles Sanders. Let's have Jimmy G. Jimmy G goes to the AFC West. We also talked about Jimmy G. He's fine, but he also hurts so often he'll probably be considered in the Teddy Bridgewater, Andy Dalton bridge quarterback for higher tier permanently a year from now. So there's no need to pay a premium. They didn't pay a premium for him. And I don't think he's going to be an impact player. Jimmy G is the type of guy that can get you up to a certain point. A bridge quarterback. Okay, a bridge quarterback. I don't think in the same division as Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and a determined Russell Wilson in the AFC West, that he's going to be an impact player. I can't see it. Can't see it. Now I'm going from running back to quarterback, and that's what I'm talking about. I can't see it. I cannot see it. Maybe someone can, but I can't. Okay. No, how about Jacoby Myers? Jacoby Myers is one of the top free agents available at the wide receiver. And for fantasy matters, the best thing that could happen for Myers is to sign just about anywhere that isn't New England. Jacoby Myers led the Patriots in receiving each of the past 3 seasons, but he has caught 70-plus passes just once in 4 years. He has never tallied even 900 receiving yards in a season, and he's just 8 touchdowns in 4 seasons. And he has never been a top 30 fantasy option. Okay. How about Evan Ingram? How about Evan Ingram? I think they franchised Evan Ingram, if I'm not mistaken. And I know they made it a priority to make sure he stays on that team because Doug Peterson's type of offense, and I'm not just talking negative about players. This is a positive thing. I think Evan Ingram and the Jaguars are an ascending young team led by Trevor Lawrence. And Evan Ingram played an important role last season on an offense that could be among the league's best for years to come. Now, this all is with the imagination of Doug Peterson. Evan Ingram had career highs in both 73 receptions and 766 yards, but he has to stay healthy. That was a knock on Evan Ingram. They knew he was a talent, but he has to stay healthy. As long as he stays healthy, in that Doug Peterson offense, Evan Ingram is going to be a very good option in the tight end position in fantasy. Very good option in fantasy. Okay. How about Tony Pollard? Zeke is on his way out, and he only had 250 total touches. Now, if Tony Pollard could come close to last year's per touch effectiveness with that increased load, he could challenge to be fantasy football's highest scoring running back. No more. They got rid of the offensive coordinator. They got rid of. They're getting rid of the running back by. Well, I would say running back by committee. I think they're still going to do that, but Tony Pollard is going to be a lead back, in my opinion. And I think he's going to be a not a first round pick, but a high quality second, third round, fourth round pick in fantasy. Yes, Tony Pollard. Yes, but let me see if I can go through some wide receivers. Let me see if I can go through some wide receivers. And see if I can get you some wide receivers that would be beneficial. How about this? How about this? Bear with me, people. I'm trying to navigate through my vaunted computer and give you some information that I had stored up in here. Anyway, I mean, let's put it this way. I think the free agency market. Let me put it this way: Who Juju Smith-Schuster? Don't expect him to do the things he did. He didn't do that much in Kansas City. I don't expect him to do that much where when the place he lands. I imagine that I'm trying to find it out here. I had it, and I'm losing it. I can't believe I lost it here. No, I want that. I want this. Here. Let's try this here. Let's try this here. Anyway, I've talked about the running backs that I've already mentioned, and the gonna make this short and sweet. You're gonna make this short and sweet. Just be careful of what you are looking at in the free agents. Okay? I'm going to say this. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Pay attention to the head coach, what side of the ball he's from, and also the offensive coordinator. If the head coach, for the most part, if the head coach has a defensive mindset, then he's going to be a conservative head coach, not throwing the ball as often, and running the football. And look what you have at the offensive line, running back, quality of running back, and in the same vein, if it's a offensive-minded coach, he comes from the offensive side of the ball. He may be the type of coach that wants to run the football, or running back by committee. Running back by committee. And then that means they're going to either run the ball a lot or put the ball in the air in harm's way. And you got to look at the quarterback. You got to look at the offense. There's a lot of factors that go into it. Offensive line, offensive scheme, defense, all that. Do they have capable weapons on both sides of the ball? Now, Miles Sanders, and I'll refer back to that because that's a really good example. Had ideal conditions, but it was a running back by committee. It's telling you the lead back in the Super Bowl gets half the amount of touches than another back. Okay. With one of the best offenses, if not the best offensive line and offenses in the NFL. And he's going to an exact opposite situation. Not a good offensive line. Going to have more likely going to have a rookie quarterback. And what kind of weapons, other than the running back position, tight end, quarterback, wide receivers, second and third year players, and the acquisition, and they're counting on this acquisition to be their number one receiver? Come on. Adam Thielen, who always gets hurt. He's 30 plus. I'm just saying, don't chase the numbers, people. Do your due diligence. Do your homework. Look at what you have in front of you and make an informed decision. That's all I got to tell you. Make an informed decision. I'm going to end this program right now because I just wanted to get that out there real quick. There's a few plays. I know that I didn't go through a lot of plays, but there's a few plays I went through that I really wanted to emphasize. That don't expect. In the coming months, I'm going to be talking about more and more players. So even though this may be a shorter program, I'm going to be in the future. I'm going to be talking about more and more players. More and more players. But with that being said, tune in next week to Mr. FSP Show, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You find him on YouTube, among other platforms, including Facebook and Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. 1 o'clock Eastern Standard on the those platforms. The FSP Show. And also me, I'm on YouTube. Jerry Taylor. As you can see right there, Jerry Taylor presents the Master Plan. 10 o'clock a.m. Sunday morning. I'll be there. Talk to you later. Good people. You enjoy the rest of your day and have a safe week. See ya.